Welcome to another edition of the Raw the Lions UK podcast, episode number 101. Welcome to Detroit. I'm Matthew Turner alongside my co-hosts Ryan Farden, Steve Collins, and off camera at the moment, Ryan McCluskey will be joining us in just a moment. How you doing, boys?
Very well, thank you.
Victory Monday.
Yeah.
I mean,
very, very happy.
It was absolutely cracking, wasn't it? Ryan, haven't had you on for a little while. How's things going?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Just preparing myself for Christmas, and like I say, we've got an early present which we'll be talking about in the next hour or so. But very happy. Rare for me to be happy on a Monday, as Steve said. So these Victory Mondays, we're getting spoilt now by the Lions, 2 in 3 weeks. So pretty good stuff. More to come, hopefully.
And you, Steve, as well. Your stream's working finally, which is great news.
Yes, after internet issues ruined my Victory Monday last week, and it's what a pleasant podcast to be on, talking about the game. Really looking forward to talking it through.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Loads of guys actually in the Twitch chat, which is great to see. Big Erez, Ashley Soden, Dan Pass, a few guys in the YouTube chat as well, Chrome and Hat's House, and all of you other guys there. Thank you for joining in, and thank you to everyone on the audio pod as well for listening along. It's going to be a fun one. Can't wait to get into it. We're going to start off with a bit of news before going into the review of the game. But before that, just to remind you guys, our Discord is open. DM us if you want to get on there. There's going to be some really cool stuff in the run-up to the draft, which we're going to be putting on there. So going to be tape reviews. We might do some sort of lives on there if you want to talk with us directly. So that's going to be really good. Give us a shout if you want to go up to that. College football podcast is ongoing. There is going to be one this Wednesday. Talked about the bowl games last week and what have you, so that's a really good watch. Also, last Wednesday, we talked to Herman Moore for 20 minutes. You'll want to have a look at that too. That was really, really cool. He, of course, the founder of Lions Nation Unite, and you need to download that app because it's going to be the future of what we do here. So get involved with that. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the podcast. Really appreciate all the help you can give. Hello to first-time viewer Saulo666 as well. Thank you very much, man, for joining us. And there's Ryan. There he is.
I recognise that beard anywhere.
How you doing, Ryan?
I'm good, yeah. I'm always good on Victory Monday. I'm still waiting for the Cardinals to put a tweet out, the bloody chickens. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, they haven't tweeted since what, their touchdown? Or
4 tweets they put out during that game. They stopped after about half. Next big set of fannies. Grow up.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Right, let's get into the game. Into the news to start with, sorry. So, injuries and roster moves. AJ Parker, Tracy Walker, and Ifeatu Melifonwu were activated from the COVID reserve before the game. Of course, then Walker didn't actually play because he was out due to a non-COVID illness. In terms of injuries during the game, Alex Anzalone exited during second quarter, and he did not return with a shoulder injury. Per Justin Rogers, it's the same shoulder that he's had surgery on 3 times after dislocations in his career. In the press conference with Dan Campbell an hour ago, he confirmed that he's done for the year. Although it's not a major injury, it just makes sense with so little time to go to shut him down and just protect him. So that's a shame for Alex, but it's going to give a chance to some guys who really showed up in this recent game to get them some first-team reps through the last 3 games of the season. So, silver lining perhaps. Craig Reynolds, after this most recent game, we'll get into him later, but he's been signed to the 53-man roster. This confirms his restricted free agent status. So, he is an undrafted guy, but if he was drafted, he'd be on his rookie deal. That means he's under the, we control his rights for that period, but we only do if he's actually on the roster. If he's on the practice squad, he's effectively a free agent at the end of the year. So he becomes a restricted free agent. We can offer him a deal at the end of the season, and he either signs it or he's effectively retired. So we have control over his rights for the next year, which is great news, especially considering how well he did. And then finally, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has taken the Lions' rookie single-season reception record. He now has 65 receptions. That's 20th joint in the NFL in receptions among all players. It's second only to Jalen Waddle amongst rookies. He's also 5th in receiving yards in rookies. The other 4 are all top 10 picks in this draft. So 4 top 10 guys and then a 4th round rookie, Amon-Ra, showing up, boys. And to lead out with that, how impressive, not just in this game, has he been, especially given the first 3 or 4 games. He had nothing. All this production has come in the last 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. Since the bye week, he's become a different animal. Him and Jared Goff just seem to be on a total wavelength. Goff has the utmost faith in him that he can find him, and he's able to get free and beat his defensive backs. As you mentioned, it was a very slow start. For the first, say, maybe 6 weeks of the year, he barely got a look in, but he had more competition back then. Now the roster and the wide receiver room has thinned out even more. He's kind of become the main man, the go-to guy. And he's a huge benefactor of the maybe the weak, the lack of depth, I suppose. But one man's, I suppose he's just an opportunist, isn't it? Like he's the fox in the box. He's getting those tap-ins because there's guys there that are producing, and he's able to feed off of that. So it'll do great for his confidence going into year 2 when you expect the wide receiver room to be a bit more healthy. But if he's establishing himself now, then he won't have to struggle for one of those hungry mouths to feed next year. I hope he's going to be established as maybe that 2 or 3 guy.
Any other comments on Amon-Ra?
Yeah, I think one of the best things about Amon-Ra is that like it's not really been easy for him. Like he's had a lot of pretty crappy games, and he's had a lot of games where he's struggled to contribute. And I think for a rookie, it could have massively knocked his confidence. But the guy's obviously like a real fighter, and he's obviously been coached well because he's just got better and better and better. Like he really struggled in terms of getting open and getting any separation, and that seemed to really sort of cramp his form in the first few games, but he's just got better and better.
Yeah, and I think, I wonder how much of it's got to do with since Campbell's maybe been taking over the play calls. I know there's quite a few bits of concerns regarding that, but I think, he's definitely growing into it as well. And the team as a whole is really, showing signs of positivity and real improvement. The rushing, I think we've had 1,500 yards already this season now. And it's just, people were getting yards from all of our running backs on the whole. I think, I can't pronounce his name, but number 35 struggled a little bit yesterday and a little bit last week as well. But, all in all, it's just, I just think it's, probably to do with Campbell, to be fair, because I think he's kind of challenged him as well and said, look, you're our main guy and, we're going to try and get you the ball and we're going to see what we could do. And obviously, whatever Goff's been doing with him as well has obviously been paying off. So really great, considering that to see someone step up and take their chance. So really happy with him and really happy with certain aspects of our game since Campbell's taken over the play calling, which, if I have to be honest, I wasn't happy with at first. I thought it was a mistake taken away from Lynn, but thank God it seems to be the right call.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come on to that, I think, later on in the pod about Campbell and what this means for him, really. But talking about Anzalone now, obviously we've kind of had 2 linebackers all the way through the season, at the very least, off the ball. And Anzalone's always been one of them, and we've been rotating in. Jalen Reeves-Maybin appears to be the starter, but Derek Barnes comes in situationally. Josh Woods has kind of come in and contributed after being signed off a practice squad, and he's kind of done okay. A couple of other guys have kind of figured here and there and got injured, and that's been it. But with no Anzalone now, and the way that Jalen Reeves-Maybin played last week, you've got to figure he's going to be the green dot starter. But it probably means Derek Barnes every snap. And while we were clamouring for that earlier in the season, he consistently, for me, has been making big mistakes in coverage. And I fear that this may hurt him more than help him. I think that having him situationally as a rotation player really helps. Well, maybe Josh Woods is going to be that guy. What do you reckon is going to happen in the future? Not about this game, but just what that's going to do to our linebacker room. Steve?
I don't think it matters, because I think the big stigma that we were facing was going 0-17, and it was a real possibility at one stage because we just looked so far away from a win. And we've got 2 wins on the board plus the tie. We're not going to qualify for the playoffs by a long shot. So really, this is what I want to see is, I don't want to see him win at all costs for the next 3 games. I just want him to let people play, let people have their chance, let people, get the opportunity to make an impact. And yeah, if we drop a veteran or there's an injury situation, next man up, and let's see. And I think Craig Reynolds is like absolutely the best example of that. I mean, the guy was effectively our RB5, up to quite recently, behind like Swift, Williams, Jefferson, Godwin, and just through circumstances and injuries and opportunities, all of a sudden, the guy is absolutely, he's the first 100 yards, I think the 13th running back from the Lions to get over 100 yards in the last 20 years. I mean, what an opportunity, and what a kind of statement for the squad in terms of, Campbell saying to the guys, look, this is a meritocracy. You produce, you'll be on the roster.
Yeah, never mind that. I think I saw a stat saying he was the second Lions running back ever to get over 200 yards in his first 2 starts. And the first one was Billy Sims, I think. That's a hell of a group, to be in company with. I mean, Billy Sims and Craig Reynolds. What the hell?
And that's for a running back with Ragnow out. And he's just finding holes and he's just carving up defenses.
I think just to get back to Barnes, I think that, if you look at it, the defense has been, really strong all year. Aaron Glenn, I think everyone here is absolutely delighted with him. And, Barnes just needs the time out there. And, other people have improved during the season. We're just talking about Aaron St. Brown, not, develop, doing much in the early part of the year. It's a challenging position to play in. Just keep him out there. I think the kid's going to be okay. Just got to keep the faith with him, and especially with, like we're just saying, his coaches out there. They'll continue to work with him day in, day out, and he will improve. I think that he'll be okay in the long term, but obviously, like most of our team, plenty of room for improvement still.
And perhaps looking forward to the wide receiver group, Amon-Ra as a 2 or a 3, Josh Reynolds as a 2 or a 3, and just one guy being brought in with, the other guys that we have already on the back end of this roster. Quintez Cephas could be the 4. I mean, we were talking about this maybe a few weeks ago, saying, well, if we bring in one, WR1, this group will go, but it's not the best group in the world. But with the way that Reynolds and Amon-Ra are playing, I'm starting to think that might actually potentially be a strong room. Now, are you guys with me on this, or is it too early to call it?
I'd say it's a bit early to say that. I'd like to see Goff and Reynolds maybe a whole year together. It's kind of a shame that we didn't. A lot of us, before the season, we're looking at free agency players, and we said that Josh Reynolds, that kid knows Goff. Maybe we should bring him in for a workout. They didn't listen. They didn't bring him in. And now it's suddenly clicked. Now they're best friends again. Who knows what they could have done maybe together as a year? But I think it's still early. I think I'd like to see a larger sample size. But the players that are out are going to certainly come back and ask questions, likes of Cephas. Maybe even Raymond. Maybe he's going to get a 1-year deal. Maybe he'll come back because he's been a reasonably good returner as well. Even he's a bit of a speedster. So there's guys here. There's certainly people that are not playing right now that should be worried for snap count, and that is a good thing, because right now we've got a little bit of competition, and I'd rather have lots of competition than one absolute standout dude and then a load of bottom feeders. We're just kind of chugging along nicely, and I suppose quarterbacks make receivers look better as well. When Goff looks good, the receiving core looks good. When Goff sucks, they look like bloody those guys that stand out in the checkouts bagging stuff. They don't look like receivers, do they? But it's nice to see as well they're blocking. That's the good thing I love to see, because Josh Reynolds is a great blocker. He has done some nasty stuff on the outside. They're really willing to get stuck in. So we'll see. There's a chance that 60-70% of them still might be back next year. So it looks good for what we've done this year if we bring them back.
Yeah, we don't want any bottom feeders. Leave that for the Bears.
I mean, the Bears are in our sights as well, right? And in the NFC North, I mean, the way the Bears are playing right now, the way that we're playing right now, and the people we've got left on our schedule. I mean, I know going to Seattle away is hard. I know going to Atlanta away is no cakewalk. At the same time, they're two of the worst teams in the NFL. I know that I got an email today from teamrankings.com saying the Lions are now 29th in their rankings and Atlanta are 28th, and they give us a 40% chance of winning that game. I mean, there's a universe where we go to Atlanta and go to Seattle and win both of those games, and hell, Green Bay lock up the 1 seed and don't play anyone. We could win our last 4 games, and suddenly we're third in the NFC North. I mean, never mind destroying our draft stock. I mean, we'd be going in with a hell of a lot of confidence into next season. I mean, this is something that I saw online, and I was like, nah, it's not going to happen. Come on, I'm picking us to lose every single week because I don't trust this team. And at the end of the day, they are talent deficient. But some part of me wants to get carried away with this. I mean, the Bears are shocking. We are a much, much better team. Steve, NFC North writer for NFL Scotland, we are a better team than the Chicago Bears, yes?
Absolutely. And the Bears have got to play the Vikings twice in the next 4 weeks, and they're probably going to lose both. They've got to go to Seattle as well on Boxing Day. And it's only really their home fixture against the New York Giants that I think is kind of winnable for the Bears. So, there is a scenario, we're only a game and a half behind them, that we pick up, beat the Falcons. As I've said all year, we're probably going to be playing the Packers' third string in week 17. So, there's a chance there. I don't want to finish above the Bears. Although the Bears don't even have a draft pick, they've traded it to the Giants. But we're definitely. I think if we were to play the Bears in our last 4 fixtures, I'd absolutely be putting some cash on it.
All right, let's move on and perhaps talk about the game a little bit more. So, if I can actually get there. So, inactives for this game, I already mentioned that Walker was out with a non-COVID illness. DeAndre Swift and Julian Okwara ruled out on Friday. We also missed Jonah Jackson, Will Holden with a non-football injury. No idea what's happened there. And then Blau and Benson continue to be healthy scratches. Blau is obvious. We have 2 quarterbacks active. Don't need a third. Trinity Benson, is he being kept because they traded for him and they are saving face? Is that why he's here? I can't think of any other reason why he's still here apart from the fact that we're struggling to actually fill a team because of COVID right now. I would cut him. I would bring someone else in and go, you know what? You have a try at the roster because he's a waste of space at the moment.
If they're trying to save face, that's stupid. I think that's a stupid idea. He is not worth the roster spot whatsoever. I would have kicked his ass to the curb weeks ago. He's an absolute total dumpster fire of a trade. I don't even care about the capital. The player is useless. There's no chance he's going to get on any other roster.
Why don't you say what you really think? Come on.
Oh, I could go in and no, just cut his ass already. I'm sick of seeing him inactive. The guy's stealing a paycheck, for God's sake. And if they think we don't know that they're keeping him around because they don't want to admit it was a bad trade, well, the joke's on them because we know. Just bite the bullet. They're supposed to be ballsy and up front, so just do it now. What's the point in waiting?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty harsh, but he's certainly not really, showing up at all.
Well, nothing to really add apart. He hasn't done anything to really warrant a space. I think just because of the way of the world at the moment and COVID, it's a lot easier just to keep him there till the end of the year and then get rid of him. So, but hopefully he won't see much of the field and we'll be all right with what we got at the moment.
Yeah, right. Cardinals ended up getting 12 points in the end, 6 in garbage time. Lions with 30. It's the 3rd win in the last 10 years of a 1-win team against a 10-win plus team. Most recent time happened last year, and the time before was 10 years ago. So the Lions have pulled out something historic here. This does not happen every day. And I think it's a symptom of us underperforming, Arizona overperforming, and them being completely outclassed in all areas of the field and in the coaching areas. Just having a look at the box score quickly. Goff, 21 of 26, 216 with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Quarterback rating of 93.9. I think the passer rating was in the 130s somewhere as well. On the other side, Kyler Murray, who was benched in the 4th quarter, 23 41, 257, a touchdown and interception, a quarterback rating of 7.6, which is just all kinds of amusing. Having a look at the PFF scores, Arizona apparently had a better game than we did. So I'm not sure how much use PFF is now. I am questioning the value of my subscription, I have to say. But the three guys with a good grade for the Lions, Craig Reynolds with 81, Josh Reynolds with 80, Amon-Ra St. Brown with 79, despite the almost perfect passer rating, and I know passer rating is not exactly a good measure of how good someone is, despite the QBR, which is a bit closer, Jared Goff, PFF grade of 62. I don't understand how that works. Looking at the defense, no one had an elite day. I don't get that. Charles Harris, who, for me, I agree with Pride of Detroit on their podcast where they said the guy should be the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He's an edge player, and he got 12 tackles, 13 tackles, including 2.5 sacks, one not credited, but should have absolutely been on the botched snap. I know it isn't credited, but he got round the edge and took out Kyler. Like, come on, man. This game was incredible. Just to talk about it overall before we dig into some of the individual plays. Brock Wright. Brock Wright did not have a good game. Is there anyone else who perhaps didn't turn up in this game? I can't think of anyone. Just to get the negativity out of the way first before we get into
the running
all the
back.
positive.
But the running back, I can't pronounce that again.
God, Winnick with the UK. Yeah, the fumble.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
That guy's on borrowed time, I think, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing for this was, like, we're so used to just getting our ass kicked in the first quarter, just absolutely getting humped, and just the misery being piled on early doors. And for me, like the opening drive, even though we didn't score a touchdown, was like a statement of intent. We ran quite a lot off the clock. We made the way down the field. We ran the ball. It looked like they'd started, and it looked like we looked like a home team. Like, quite often we look like the away team, and like we've just got off the plane, and we're still jet lagged or tired or whatever. We look like the home team, and the Cardinals looked like they'd just come off a flight and weren't quite up to speed. So for me, that was a massive positive in terms of how we started off that game.
Yeah, because I think, I don't know about you guys, but first play was like a big sack on Goff, and you were just like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is going to be what we thought it was going to be at the start. It's not going to be a good day at the office at all.
Yeah,
and thankfully we went on an 8-minute plus drive and scored a touchdown, and so it, like you say, apart from one or two things in the game, it was all round. It was just really a solid game of football, and kind of like what we were promised by Dan Campbell in his introductory press conference. It was a Lions team that fought so hard on defense, got at a quarterback, made it really tough for him, and was there on offense and defense, and just really, really positive performance, and something that we should be we'll be fit. Now it's been set at that, and we know how we can play. I think that we should expect that level of performance, at least in the last 3 games of the season. I think that we could go close and definitely take one more win this year.
Yeah. So started off with that opening play sack, as you say. That first drive, so lasted just short of 9 minutes, ended with a 37-yard Patterson field goal. There were several moments in that drive where I thought, I've seen this story before. So we had the opening play sack, as you said. I've seen that before. Early on in the drive, in our own territory, it was 3rd and 5, and they call a draw play, which worked, to their credit, but Craig Reynolds converted on a 3rd and 5 in our own territory. I thought, well, I've seen that before. Nothing's changing here. But it worked, so I was willing to go with it. And then on 3rd and 8, in their territory, in the red zone, they call a passing play. Looks like there might be some room on the outside. Takes a check down to Amon-Ra for 5 yards, 4th and 3. And I think, yeah, that seems a bit safe. That's probably what the Lions would do here. And on 4th and 3, I'm like, well, he's just going to go for it. What is there to lose at this point? Kicks a field goal, which surprises me. That was the first sign that something was different, was the kick field goal. But those crucial moments in that first drive, I thought, no, but this is the script that we've always played. And then when they kicked the field goal, I thought, okay, we've got some points on the board. This is promising. Do you guys, are you running with me on that first drive, or what do you see?
Why do you think he kicked the field goal?
I really don't know. I mean, they seem to be converting quite well on those sorts of down and distance. So
I think he kicked the field goal because he thought, we've got this. We can run the ball. Craig Reynolds, he ran 112 yards at 4.3 a carry, and he was like instrumental with keeping that drive going. And I think Campbell looked at that drive and thought, well, we don't need to panic. We don't need to like try and do something fancy. Let's just go for the 3 points and get that lead and establish it, because there's nothing I see here on defense that's frightening. I mean, I know they had no JJ Watt. Chandler Jones was, compared to some of the games he's had where he's just blown teams up, he was kind of relatively quiet. And I think Campbell just looked at that situation and thought, yeah, we're okay here. We're in control. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
I think also that he's maybe taken on board at times. Like I said, there's been a lot of people that complained at times like we've turned down points and we've fallen short in games where we could have taken those. So I think he did take the safe option this time. He took guaranteed points because he thought those could come in really handy later on in the game. Whereas in other games, he's lived in the moment, and at the end of the game, we've looked back and wish that a bit differently. Taking points there, though, that's never a bad idea. You'll never look at that idea again and go, well, I should have gone for 4th and 3, because you just don't do that. So we started on the good foot, and it was nice to just establish something, because with such usual slow starters, we sometimes don't even get going till half time. He wanted a reward from a long drive, so he took the gift that was given to us, took some points, and it got us going. And it's nice to see it warmed up Patterson's leg, because it looks like we found a kicker as well.
Yeah, right. But okay, so here's the other question. I'll put this to Ryan Farden now. So he takes the points. Fine. Okay, it's 4th and 3. You could go for that, and you'll probably get it 50% of the time, or you could not, and maybe we get a touchdown from it. It's the sort of thing that Dan has gone for so far this season. Decides not to go for it. Steve's just said, well, it's because he's got confidence in the game plan, and, he thinks that there's a way to win here, and so want to get points on the board and just kind of get in front of them. And then comes immediately out and does an onside kick, which would say to me, no, actually, I'm not so confident in this. We need to gain an extra possession, or maybe we'll catch them unawares. Maybe they think because we're kicking here that they won't anticipate the onside kick. What did you see, Ryan, in that? Were you surprised? Were you taken aback by it?
Yeah, I was shocked. I wasn't expecting an onside kick there, especially after the positive start to the game. But yeah, it was a strange one, But it's like we're letting it all hang out, aren't we? But then I think that as soon as we realised, as Steve said, that they obviously felt that they the beating of the Cardinals on the day, and we kind of found that out pretty early, I think, because you just didn't get a feeling that they were going to come back into it at all, and which is obviously exceptionally rare for us. When we're watching a Lions game, you always think, oh, they'll do something stupid like an interception or a pick six or something like that. But it was a shock. But after that, he managed the game a lot, kind of to a more of a regular way of doing it. But it's definitely going to be interesting watching him develop as a coach with us anyway, because I think he's just going to give it anytime he gets the opportunity, he's going to give it, isn't he? So
yeah. Ryan, is that what you saw, that he thought that taking a field goal would mean that they thought that he was being a bit more conservative and it would catch him unawares?
Yeah, I thought it was reverse psychology. I thought he's showing them that he's gonna go. He's not going to be aggressive ballsy down today. He's going to play it safe. So they put out their kickoff formation. They weren't set up for an onside kick. I think he tried to purposely catch them out, and it was just his plan to outcoach Cliff, which he did all day, and it didn't play off. Because onside kicks have a low percentage sometimes of coming off, but it certainly showed that he can be unpredictable. And sometimes when you think of the Lions, we can be incredibly predictable. So he was there trying to show them that not everything you see is what you get. So I liked it, even though we didn't get it.
I think just going back to I think Campbell's rolling the dice because he can. Just going back to that kind of confidence that Campbell seemed to have that there was a way to win. I think we've got to just give the O-line a bit of props at this point, because if you look at I think how many games we played now? 14 games. 4 of those games, Goff's taken 4 sacks or more. I think he's taken 5 a couple of times, but that's 4 games where he's taken at least 4 sacks. The Cardinals got 2 sacks in the entire game. I think maybe like 5 QB hits. But I mean, as I said, Chandler Jones has had 5 or 6 sacks per game against some other O-lines. And I think Campbell obviously felt that, they were able to contain the threat, and Goff had just got that extra, split second to throw the ball. And he looked so much more confident in his throwing.
Yeah, he really did. Goff's confidence was stark.
And I think that really comes through in the next drive.
Yeah. So Cardinals get the ball in a favourable field position around midfield, and they go 3 and out in the first possession. But to say they go 3 and out is deceptive. So it was actually 3rd and 4, and then they pick themselves up with a false start, go back to 3rd and 9, and then there's a little kind of pass to the running back, or I think a wide receiver screen, and Charles Harris manages to get out there for a 1-yard tackle for a loss. It was a real kind of moment where you've seen the Lions just give that up in the past. Oh yeah, 3rd and long. We've seen this before. Like, they're just going to convert it here. And I mean, not only to stop them short, but to get the tackle for a loss, which from where they started to keep them out of field goal range is an unbelievable win. And perhaps a bit more of a statement of intent even in the first drive. They've just had to suffer 9 minutes of defense out there, and they're going again and punting. And yeah, they pin us within the 5. But, the defense went out there and said, no, we're doing this. That to me felt like there was something different right there. Moving on, so the Lions on their next possession, Goff at the very start got picked off, or should have been, by Isaiah Simmons, bounced up off the ground and then he caught it. But there's no way he should be dropping that ball. So, Goff potentially putting it in harm's way. But then the Lions marched down the field, ended up with a 37-yard pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown for a touchdown. As off a busted coverage during a blitz, Goff steps up during the pocket, gets hit on the arm, on his throwing arm, in the process, still manages to deliver a touch pass with finesse. It was like feathered. There was almost no power on it whatsoever. It was just looped right into the breadbasket. The drive also included 2 massive 3rd down conversions in Lions territory. So, we highlighted on the preview pod with Jeremy Reisman the fact that the Cardinals are one of the best teams in the league when it comes to situational football. 3rd down, 4th down, red zone, they're excellent. Lions, situational football, 3rd down, 4th down, red zone, awful. And yet in this game, I already count now 3 3rd down conversions in the first quarter, which is unheard of for us. That pass, the ability to step up in the pocket, the Jared Goff of the last 12, 13, 15 weeks would have spun out of that. He would have tried to run away, but he saw a little gap in the pocket because, frankly, Evan Brown held up in front of him. And so he had a little bit of a gap to walk into. The touch, the play design as well, they touched on this on the Pride of Detroit pod. Amon-Ra is set up on the line, basically as like a blocking kind of tight end, almost. Then kind of motions out into the flat, and then turns it upfield. Apparently a play that Ben Johnson might have inserted into the playbook this week, something they used to run during his time with the LA Rams, Goff. So he's familiar with that play, but Amon-Ra executed it to perfection. The O-line held up just enough, and Goff, I mean, that's the best throw I've seen in Maple season.
Oh, easily. Goff decided this week to pull up on his big boy pants and stand in the pocket. He knew he was going to get hit, and he still delivered a strike. Like Goff of the most of the season has been a chicken. He's turned his back. He's trying to scramble and run away from defenders. He's been too scared to step into pockets and holes when they've presented themselves and deliver a strike. So For once, it was like the last 2-3 weeks. It's great to see him actually stand in the face of adversity. He's got hands in his face. He's got people swatting at him, trying to hit him, letting go of the ball, putting some nice touch in it, and still getting clattered. Like he's really come out of his shell, I feel, like last few weeks, and it's good to see. He's playing some of his best stuff of the year right now. Since the bye week, his numbers have just flipped on their head completely, and I think it comes from the fact that now he trusts the line. He's willing to stay there, put himself in danger, and deliver a strike because now he knows people will get up, and he isn't just going to stand there and get clattered and take a coverage sack because no one's there, because now defenders are having to work a lot harder to keep the likes of Amon Ra in their pocket. So it's a team thing. It's overall, it's just working well. And we've seen we know what Goff exists. We know what Goff can do. It's just taken us to this very time now to just see a little bit of it. And this is only this scratching the surface of what he can do.
But Ryan, it's a two-way street, isn't it? Because if Goff knows that the O-line's going to protect him, then he knows he can hang in and step up. And if the O-line know that he's going to hang in and maybe put that throw in late and take a hit, they're going to work and push even harder for him, aren't they? It's a kind of trust two-way exercise in there for them both.
Definitely. I mean, we've always talked about how good this O-line is, and I think Goff started to realise it himself. And yet, he's missing some important players in there, who'd normally be protecting for him. But, I think it's just a case of developing probably with the new system. It's probably been a big change for him, in Detroit. But, you can't play scared in this league. If you play scared, then you're just going to get your arses handed to you every single week. And, I think that, that's probably, you can probably see why, in a way, Sean McVay got so frustrated with him, because there is a player in there. There's definitely a quarterback in there. It's just like, it doesn't show up as often as you would like it to do. And, there's always going to be the silly kind of mistake where Simmons should have definitely had him with the pick. And, but ultimately, he's moving up the pocket. He's getting the ball out. And, considering that, he was just dumping it off a lot to Swift while he was there and making Swift do all the hard work for him. He's getting it now, down to players. He's throwing darts into the end zone, and he's playing like a quarterback that we, want to get behind and support. So, I'm happy with Goff the last few weeks. I'm a little bit dodgy in Denver, definitely, but he's really getting the ball out now and showing us what he can do. And I think we should be pretty happy with that. And I do believe it's all down to the coaching, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things not to forget is that that touchdown was set up by us establishing the run and really making the Cardinals have to second guess what we were going to do, because we've been so predictable for much of the season. But I think the play before, Craig Reynolds had broken out for a 27-yard run, and I mean, he'd really carved through the backfield, and it's definitely created a step change in terms of the Cardinals' defensive schemes. They are definitely worried about the run, and all of a sudden that just opens up the passing game for Goff. But as Matt said, it was a beautiful pass, lovely weight, right into stride of St. Brown. Great play.
I think we were sold on Goff as this guy who, when someone's got separation, he can lead the receiver to the ball. He can put it in front of them in stride. That's the first time I've seen it all year, in a way that's actually going to provide us anything meaningful. I've seen him lead a receiver to the sideline when he needs to, but in open field, it's the first time I've seen it, and long may that continue. At the end of the day, if Goff can perform like that, we're not going to win every game. But it's earlier on this season, I was saying I don't care if you only get $1 million back in cap space. You've got to cut Goff. The way he's playing right now, you can't hang with this guy. There's no point. Let's just get in a vet for a couple of million because he's offering you more. If Goff does that, we can ride out next year with him doing... even near that is fine. We can ride out next year, find our quarterback the season afterwards. There's no... The pressure on us to take a quarterback in this upcoming draft, where the quarterback play is not elite at the top. The pressure is releasing on us. Now, it doesn't mean we don't take someone, but it means that the need is reduced. If we cut him at the end of next season, it's only 10 million dead cap. It's 30 this year. So there's a big, big difference. If he can actually perform like that, I'm kind of almost there with saying, well, let's run it back. And you know what? If he's awful, then we do get a high pick potentially when there are better quarterbacks coming out. So, this is good all round, really.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the quarterback next year. I'm not saying that I definitely think he's for me, he would definitely be, but I think that they definitely keep him next year. I think that they're gonna use those picks because obviously it's gonna be a top 5 pick almost certainly. And they'll pick up someone good there, whether it's a wide receiver or a defensive player. Hopefully it's someone on defense. But I mean, I just think that they'll ride it with Goff, and like you say, that makes no financial sense realistically to kind of get rid of him next year. But and you never know with these quarterbacks. There's always someone that normally ends up falling, and we'll have an early pick in the start of the second round. So it could be a case that they even move up a little bit, back into the first. You just don't know if there's someone they really like there that at the end of the first, and they might move back up there. So just wait and see. I think Goff will be there next year, most definitely. And also the GM loves him. So, that's part to do with it as well, I would have thought.
I think he's done enough.
Moving on to the next drive, the Cardinals go 3 and out again. Big sack by a combination of Jesse Lemonnier and Charles Harris. So both coming round the edges. Lemonnier goes low, hits Goff in the knee. And I, on second viewing, think he's actually a bit lucky to get away with not roughing there. The sack on the broadcast was credited to Harris because he hit him high, and it's what you could see. But they both hit him at the same time. Well, Lemonnier actually potentially gets there about a half second before, and they kind of scissor him high and low. Bit iffy. But first time that Charles Harris really shows up in this game. Second time. He had a tackle for a loss earlier. Then he gets this sack. And, at this point, they're 10-0 down, and we've got the ball. They've got to be having alarm bells going off saying, what the hell is going on here at this point? And Charles Harris, we'll come on to him lots more in the rest of this game, but his price tag is going up. That's all I'll say, Ryan. McCluskey, even. I was going to we were talking before on Discord about how much it might cost to re-sign him. We were kind of hoping for maybe 2 years, 8 million, 2 years, 10 million. But if this continues, he could get a 15-sack season.
He could. I don't want the price to rise too highly, though. I don't want us to be able to be fleeced or commit too highly because I like the guy and he's playing really well. I don't want to rule out it's a total one-season wonder. Obviously, he's had he only had 6.5 sacks in nearly 4 years before he came here. He's now at 7.5, so he's having a tremendous year. I think I'm hoping he'll get to double digits, but we've proven that if the guy gets double-digit sacks, we're willing to pay them. Look at Aquara, his body of work before reaching the Lions with the Giants, all that was nothing. It was pretty non-existent. So we've got cap space. I don't think we'll let him leave the building, but I don't want him to take us for a mug. I don't want him to ask for these silly demands because he's had one year and thinks, oh, they love me, so I can get whatever I want. As long as they think with their head and not with their heart, I'll be fine. But I am more open to keeping him right now than I ever have been. I've got 3 players right now that I've circled that are pretty much must deals. I do not want to walk out the building. The rest of them I can keep or give or take.
Do you want to reveal who those 3 are? I'm interested.
Oh, it's no secret. I'll give Anzalone. I'll give him a 1-year deal. I'd like to give Charles Harris try get a moderate 2-year deal, and I want to tie Walker down because I think he's had a fantastic year. He's one of the leaders. I think Pleasant, everything that comes from Pleasant on the sideline just transitions through everyone through Walker because he's one of the guys. But I've got a feeling he's going to want an awful lot of money. I think he will not take a team-friendly deal. I think he knows right now that he's coming into his prime. But those 3 guys, I'd like to build something around and then get understudies.
I think what we're seeing here is the Aaron Glenn effect. Because, no disrespect to Harris, this is a guy who's spent 3 years at the Dolphins and done nothing. 3.5 sacks in 3 seasons. He's then gone to the Falcons, who've got a pretty terrible defensive unit. He's not really made an impact there. I think he got 3 sacks, 18 tackles in the whole of the season. But he's come to Detroit, and after a quiet start, he's absolutely balled out, and that has to be down to the direction and the focus and the learning he's getting from Aaron Glenn. I mean, no one spends 4 years knocking around the roster and then all of a sudden just explodes on the scene as a player without getting some severe help. And it's got to be from Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, it's been fabulous, the rise of Charles Harris. And yeah, you're right. Aaron Glenn on this defense has been absolutely massive.
It's like, but Aaron Glenn, what's amazing is there's players that you never heard of, and people that, like you say, have done nothing in the league, and he's just got them like bowling, man. It's just like he's just obviously a phenomenal coach, and if he keeps up like this in the next year or two, because we will improve, he's gone, man. He's going to get a big job somewhere, because the rise is just going to hopefully be so high for this team over the next couple of years that I am blown away by him. I think he must be some amazing guy to play for. And you guys obviously interviewed the guy from God, I forgot his name, but the guy from the BBC,
Jason Bell.
Yeah, Jason Bell. Sorry, and he said, first thing he said on the podcast was, "He's my guy," and just wax lyricals about him. So we were excited about him in the first place, but man, it's just grown, and to be so in love with a coordinator, especially in Detroit, it's pretty rare these days. So, very great, very happy with him.
As the main job
attached to him.
No.
Don't get attached. He won't be here long.
As the main job of Dan Campbell to hire coordinators, he brought back Ben Johnson as tight ends coach. And he retained Hank Fraley, the O-line coach, and he brought in Aaron Glenn. Okay, he's whiffed on Anthony Lynn, who's the most experienced of the lot, and who has had success in this league, especially on the running back side of things, but also in passing. At the Chargers, they were an exceptional passing team under him, so it's not like he hasn't had success where he went. The fact that on those 4 guys, he's hit 3 out of 4, I mean, that's a pretty exceptional hit rate, no matter what you think of MCDC otherwise. So we'll get into that a bit more later. But on the next possession, then, so the Cards just went 3 and out. The Lions convert on 4th and 2. However, Brock Wright called for a false start, so he lines up on the left-hand side of the formation. Craig Reynolds, he's tossed the ball to the right. He's got the edge. By the time this whistle dead, he's already beyond the line to gain. I heard that Pride of Detroit said it was an incorrect call. They said maybe he didn't get set, but it definitely wasn't a false start. I then wound it down as close as I could to the snap. He's not moving. Like, there is no movement whatsoever. Brock Wright is getting killed out there because he's one of the worst performing guys on the team, on a very well-performing team. The hold was not good, but this killed this drive, and he did not do anything wrong, so I don't get it. Sometimes a bad call is just made, and a false start one isn't exactly egregious compared to what we normally get in Detroit, but I kind of feel it's a bit harsh on a guy who's playing for his career here. I mean, he's had a really good start as the UDFA, coming in at tight end 3, then tight end 2, now tight end 1. But that felt really, really harsh. So we end up punting away after that, and the Cards progress down the field a little bit, for the first time get a first down. But then quickly get into 3rd and 3. I think it's 3rd and 3? Yeah, 3rd and 3. And Kyler Murray gets flushed out the pocket. Now, he does the little kind of Goff-style bailout and bailout to the left-hand side on the spin. Charles Harris not only keeps up with him, but actually drives into him and hits him for a 12-yard loss. I mean, this was a player I didn't think Charles Harris was capable of, because if you look at Murray and his ability to escape the pocket like that, I mean, the difference between Jared Goff and Kyler Murray is stark when they pull off this sort of move, because Kyler Murray doesn't get hit, This is not a thing that happens to him. And Charles Harris kept up with him, and, he still had to make the open field tackle. An elusive guy like Kyler, even if you do catch up to him, is going to sidestep you, juke you, whatever. And he mopped him up. I mean, another individual moment from Charles Harris now, his 3rd moment of the first half that has ended drives. It's absolutely fantastic. So what a half of football, and they end up having to punt the ball back to us again. Yeah.
This was one of the worst Kyler Murray performances I've ever seen. He was dreadful. Like, he was missing guys wide open left, right, and centre. Like, there was drops, but also he just flat out missed at least 5 guys. Like, he did not look sharp. He didn't look decisive. Like, say when he was scrambling, he did not commit to either I'm going to scramble and try to get the first down, or I'm going to try to extend the play and drive. He kind of was a bit of a middleman in no man's land. And Charles Harris, he's not the tallest or strongest, but he's fast. He can shift. So when he's monitoring Kyler Murray and then he comes down to him, like, he comes down like a torpedo. And in the end, Murray just had nowhere to go because he underestimated Charles Harris's speed. I think he got a really rude awakening in this game, but it was a bad performance. Murray just did not look at the races whatsoever in all of it. And I think, like, when you're a shark and you smell blood, you know a quarterback's struggling. He just got after him. We just sent pressure and we got after them all day, and it was just great. Let him roll out and we still managed to hunt him down. Barnes, guys scraping across, keeping him contained. Like, it was a great performance, even when he did get out of the pocket.
I think that the things that really upset Murray. I mean, first of all, he was missing Rodney Hudson, which is going to have an impact on him. And we were moving the line in the trenches constantly. We were pushing them back. And if you're a small quarterback and you see your O-line like being pushed back towards you, that's really going to put you off your throwing. And you're going to need to like roll left or right to try and, make some space. But I mean, they couldn't set the edge. And Charles Harris, the speed that he was like burning around the edge, I think it just really shook Murray, and he just didn't look right. And then obviously his number one target, DeAndre Hopkins, isn't playing either. So for me, those factors really kind of like led up to him just not being at the races. But having said that, the Lions consistently made plays.
I think that was. Was that the drive where I think they went no huddle a couple of times, and I think he did make a couple of good plays during that drive, like to Zach Ertz, I think it was. But other than that, I mean, like, they're just under constant duress, like from the Lions, and that where like they were tested a couple of times. The defense just, like as you say, came up and just really just gave them hell that day, and just that 12-yard sack by Harris was just. Was brilliant, a really great play, and getting them off the field. That's and for so long we haven't been able to get pressure on a quarterback, and to see people going in and getting sacks, especially a guy who's only had, as you say, 3.5 sacks in his last few years or whatever. It's really good stuff, and that was a really great stop, because they did make some plays on that drive. Not outstanding ones, but like I say, a 13-yard, I think. Or 15-yard or something, and like another 12-yard or something. But that's about, that's what we limited them to, getting it to Zach Ertz, So I think, they've done well.
Yeah, they did. So the Lions then get the ball back. They get a false start and then lose yards with Craig Reynolds -3. So get themselves behind the sticks. They have to then punt away from that possession. Then we come to potentially the most important moments of the game, last 5 minutes of the first quarter. So starts off with an Arizona drive. They go all the way down the field. They get into the red zone, where they've been super efficient, and Murray's starting to look like he's warming up into the game. First and goal from the 6, nothing doing. Second goal, nothing doing. Third and fourth and goal, 2 big plays to stop them from that position. The fourth and goal's 4th and 3, I think, and there's a short little pass to the slot guy on the left-hand side, who's a guy I didn't even recognise the name of, and I think it was broken up by AJ Parker in there just off COVID, comes back and makes that play. If they get that in, 10-7, and you're thinking, we've played well, but you can feel what's coming here. And that goal line stand really flipped the momentum of the game.
I mean, my biggest criticism of the defense all year is that they've just not made plays at the crucial time. And I think it was on the 3rd down, Oruwariye broke up the pass. On the 4th down, AJ Parker broke up the pass. And, these two guys absolutely just, at the crucial time stepped up and made the play that, took the wind out of the sails. I think I heard a stat that that's the first time in the entire season we have not given up either a touchdown or a goal in the red zone. I think it's about 45 red zone visits, and we've given away like 30 TDs and 15 field goals. And so that's the first time we've not conceded points. I mean, first of all, that's a crazy stat in week 14. And it kind of reflects on the season we've had. But secondly, to do it there against the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, can't say, well done enough for the defense at that point. That really was one of the turning points of the game.
Yeah, fantastic. So the Lions get possession back. There's 1:59 left in the first half on the Lions' 3-yard line. And this was the talk of everyone, really, what's going to happen at this point. And we've seen the story before at this point where, and in fact, a lot of teams are guilty of this, especially this close to their own end zone. They're going to run it, they're going to try and just get out of their end zone, give themselves room to punt it away again. And of course, then the Cardinals are going to have great field position to maybe have no timeouts left, but they'll have about 1:40, 1:35 left with 50 yards to go to score. And it will end up 10-7 at the half. You get in the lead, but it's not where you could be. But after a first down run for a yard, I think 2nd and 9, Goff comes out and he passes. I mean, when I saw him turn around with the ball, I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, it felt like
Pick six.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking pick 6. But Reynolds, with a lovely out route, about 10, 15 yards deep, runs up the seam, then out to the sideline. Nice throw, quite high, but, leaps for it well, catches it, goes out of bounds, stops the clock. And, I mean, that likewise with the pass for the touchdown, but that's something we've not seen from him this year. I mean, especially under that much pressure, basically under your own goalposts. And he's just able to sit in there in the pocket, wait for his moment, hit it with timing. Something that just kind of went in my heart. I was like, oh, we could do this. Like, first time I'm thinking not only are we outplaying them, but actually this can last. And also, oh no, half time's coming up. We don't need this. Like, let's keep playing.
No,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that play because I said at the time, like Reynolds is out there playing like Marvin Jones Jr. Like, he high points the ball perfectly because it's a very high throw. Like, it's a bit too high, but luckily Reynolds has got those arms that are so long, catches it nicely. He had a few yards of separation. And then whatever happens after that play didn't matter because, as you say, you've bought your room to punt if you need to, if the drive breaks down. But also now the playbook expands. Once you, at 3-yard line, your playbook is very restricted. But once you get to the 18-yard line, like, the field is your oyster. You've got so much time to work with before the half. You can try getting field goal range. If it breaks down, so what? Punting from the 20, you can pin them deep. So it bought us just enough room that we could then do whatever we wanted. The world was the oyster. So before the half, it was really, really positive. It wasn't just run, smash, punt, and like, oh, we didn't kill any time.
And didn't that play end up being like a rough in the passer as well with an extra 15 yards at the end? So obviously then you're right. Then you're right in business. So you're like, well, let's go and get 7 now. So it really did. It was a real shot in the arm. So thank you to I think it was Jones or something who hit him, but it was that really got us rolling then.
I mean, it was so unnecessary as well because it was Chandler Jones going around the right-hand side, so he's having to go up against Penny Sewell. Sewell's blocked him all the way around the back of Goff, so he can't get him, but he reaches out and just hits him in the head and just kind of pulls a face mask a little bit. Like, what are you doing? Like, it feels like the Cardinals kind of were struggling a bit, but they also shot themselves in the foot several times, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many scenarios where this drive would end in tears, and we've seen a lot of them. But it was just the way that they constructed this drive, as Ryan said, it opened up the playbook. We'd established the run, but then Goff was able to throw. I think he got St. Brown with sort of short 6 to 8 yard passes a couple of times. And, then the finale for the touchdown pass, Matt talked about the kind of that feathered, lovely weighted ball into St. Brown on the run for the first TD. This was like the other part of Goff's arsenal. Absolutely pinpoint laser strike that he absolutely fired into a really tight window. So it was great just to see like a bit of variety in Goff's repertoire. I can't believe we're talking about Goff and repertoire and Arsenal. I mean, this is just such a turnaround from where we've been, from the check downs and the kind of like those nervous fumbles and the little dink and dunks, and all of a sudden we're talking about Goff as an offensive threat. This is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, this is up for FedEx Player of the Week as well, isn't he? Air Player of the Week. I mean, wow. I mean, things are really rolling in Detroit. He's up for, was it? There'd be two. It could be 2 NFC Players of the week in 3 weeks. I mean, that's pretty good going.
It's very
Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
Rounds are back at this, right?
So the remainder of this drive, it rounded off with a terrific throw to Josh Reynolds. Like kind of really tight window throw, ran a not skinny post. What's the name of the bloody play? Run up the seam. Yeah, well, kind of deep slant. Yeah. So tight window. Buda Baker came up into a robber roll, which meant there was only one safety, provided room in the inside right channel for that sort of throw. Had to be hit with velocity, high, so only Reynolds could get it. Came down, even though there was big, kind of contested elements to it. A throw that, again, we've not seen Goff really throw this year, because there wasn't a huge deal of separation. He knew it was going to be tight window. He got it in there. Great catch. But in this drive, he had another roughing the passer penalty where actually we were fortunate to get the call because our offensive lineman pushed the guy into Goff's leg. I mean, there's no getting around the fact that it should not have been a roughing the passer penalty. Goff exits the game for a play, comes back to massive cheers, which is like, where have you been all year for the crowd, like, in terms of supporting Goff? Like, I felt like boos were more likely than cheers, but the way the game was going, I guess maybe it was justified. Comes back to massive cheers, and then we convert on 4th and 1, so 30-odd seconds left on the 30-yard line, 28-yard line, and we go for it. Terrific play to Amon Ra, swinging it out to the right-hand side, gets the edge, jumps over someone. Fantastic. Great play call, wanting to kill a little bit more clock to make sure Murray didn't have any time. And then I think it may be the next play, or the play afterwards, where we get the touchdown. What a way to round off the half. They ended up kneeling out the final 15 seconds or so. And we go in 17-0 ahead. I don't know the last time that the Lions shut out a team at the half, but it can't have been recently. I don't think anyone has actually come up with this stat yet. I've not seen it. But
I don't think the Cardinals have been shut out since 2018. I think the stat was that it's been a good 3 seasons since they were shut out at half time.
Yeah, it was Carolina. I think it said 2 years ago. I was really worried about this drive because, like we said, like when Goff went down, it looked bad because it landed on the front of his knee, and his knee went like that. It jerked, it rolled up, and I thought, oh God, I thought he's going to get carted off. And then, like you say, he limps off, starts running around. Like there was never any point where he was going to say like, oh, just get to the locker room. He was desperate to come back in. And the 4th and 1 play, like it was really well designed. Josh Reynolds blocked some guy like 6 yards. Like he grabbed him and he just never let go of him. Brock Wright came out. I think Raymond as well. Like there was some proper effort to get that 4th and 1 over the line because the ball was thrown a good 4 or 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So there's a lot to do there. And they bullied them. Like the blocking on the outside was great all day. It was just a good team effort. And then it was just a lovely way to see out the half because then we were like, we're going to drive as much as we can. Like I say, we don't care about killing clock or anything. Because they knew they were getting the ball, Arizona, before the half. So they just wanted to keep that defense on the field as long as they could. They wanted to tire them out even more. And to say we started at our own 3-yard line and we marched best part of the field was a real statement of intent, I feel, before the half. And they looked dejected. The Cardinals going into the locker room looked like they didn't even know where they were. They were shell-shocked. Murray looked like he'd just woken up from a nap. Like when those babies look like that, like he didn't even know what was going on. Like. And Cliff Kingsbury, I don't like him. He was so pissed off. I loved upsetting him in this game.
To be honest with you, I completely agree. I mean, I was literally just about to say, like, I've never seen, considering that I watched the Cardinals game against the Rams the other day, and they played well the majority of that game, but they just looked like a team that was like, they looked like the records were the other way around. The Lions were just playing like a 10-win team, and the Cardinals were playing just like a 1-win team, and I really honestly just fully knew that we were going to win this game, and it was just going to get better for us. As long as we didn't do anything stupid, that we were going to go and go on to win it. But obviously, there was a couple of little dodgy moments in the third quarter, but but we'll get onto that in a minute, I'm sure. But they didn't look like the Cardinals team that we had seen over the past 14 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the thing with the situational football here is in terms of how the Cardinals went into the half time, probably what was said in the locker room. The first 5 minutes of the third quarter now are all of a sudden so important. And I think we could see like the events of the first 5 minutes just completely defined where the game was going. And when the Cardinals came out, they were clearly like pumped up. And for the first time, I had that sick feeling in the pit of my stomach because they absolutely cut through our defense like a knife through butter in that opening drive. And I just thought to myself, I've seen this so many times before this season. Just all of a sudden, our defense is just on the back foot, can't make a stop. The offense is just carving us open. And normally that would end in a touchdown. And then at 17-7, it's a completely different game. But I think Charles Harris made a huge stop. I think he stopped Chase Edmonds on a run, and he only got like a yard, and it set up a 4th and 3. And Kingsbury bottled it. I mean, he obviously just did not feel confidence because normally, he would have gone for it, and maybe they would have scored the 7 points. But he, from what he'd seen of our defense, he didn't fancy that 4th and 3. And he kicked the field goal. And all of a sudden, that's like a momentum changer. I felt for us.
Breaking news from Ashley Soden in the Twitch chat. Jared Goff is on the COVID list.
As long as he doesn't come back, he was positive during the game yesterday, and I think we're all right.
Oh, man. Right.
If Goff had COVID yesterday, let's get him more COVID.
Here we go.
Got that good COVID.
Let's maybe go back, get him some Delta. Was there an Alpha and a Beta? We can get him as well. Let's get him. Let's feed Goff COVID.
Unbelievable.
Oh man, I feel for that guy. Jesus Christ. Yes,
maybe got a girlfriend at least, and actually, where is that bloody video of her celebrating the second one? I wanted to see her in another swimsuit, celebrating a win. Maybe ideally wearing a little bit less. I don't know, but probably too many female listeners here. But I am all male.
And the Borderlines OnlyFans is coming soon.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a calendar anyway for Christmas. That's for sure.
Yeah. So talking of bottling it, as Steve was saying, moving swiftly on from that.
What?
We'll talk after the pod, Ryan. We'll talk after the pod.
Yeah. So Kingsbury, I absolutely agree with you, Steve. It was a bottle job at 17-0 down. Your team getting destroyed. Your defense looking like it can't stop anything. This is the position the Lions have been in all year. We know what it takes in this position to do it. You've got to go for the touchdowns because who knows when you're going to get another chance. I mean, maybe he thought, well, actually, we're just going to regress to the mean here. Our team is better than theirs. Let's get some points on the board. and we'll just grow into this game. I mean, it's 14 points, and that's only 2 scores, and we'll be fine. But it felt like a bit of a give-up move. Really, Ryan?
I think that they had a turnover on downs, didn't they? Like in the first half, and that was obviously probably maybe in his head, but you would have thought that if the shoe was on the other foot, Campbell would have definitely gone for it. I mean, you needed to try and get something going, surely, but that was a bottle job. I completely agree by Kingsbury. And not to. I don't think we touched on this, but I know Kyler Murray has had a few injuries of late, but obviously that injury must still be niggling away at him because I've never seen him not move like that before in my life, so maybe we got a bit lucky there, but I mean, not taking anything away from us. It's just there was obviously something playing up, and like the lad said just before the half time, I think the camera zoomed right in on him and he just looked completely dejected, but yeah, you have to go for the touchdown there because you need to try and get your team back into it, but there was a strange call by him, and I think it wouldn't completely surprise me if they failed to make the playoffs, if they cut him loose at the end of the season. It wouldn't shock me.
I think he's on a very hot seat. If they don't win the division, his job is in real tenure because he had that second half collapse last year. His overall record is not good. He has got a very average, like plus 600 through like 2.5 years. Like he doesn't look great. Like the 2 second halves of the year's really let himself down. I agree that if they fall at the final hurdle, he could be gone. He's in serious trouble because he is not living up to expectations whatsoever. And he's got one of the most talented rosters. You can't fail. You can't afford to do it when it counts at the business end of the year.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you get results at this point. Some more breaking news from our special correspondent, Ashley Soden. He says Mark Gilbert and Jamal Williams are off the COVID list. Jared Goff and Matt Nelson go on the COVID list. Alex Anzalone has been put on IR. That does shut down his year. He cannot play in the next 3 games. And confirming that Craig Reynolds has been called up to the active roster in a corresponding move to Anzalone going on the practice. So Anzalone going on IR. So those are all those moves recently announced. Right, let's move on and talk about the next possession. So it's brought to within 2 scores. It's a 14-point game at this point. Lions come out, drive down to midfield. Really good-looking drive to start with. And then Godwin gets the ball on a handoff. We've just converted a 3rd down. Reynolds bulldozing over from 3rd and 1. And then Godwin Igwebuike fumbles at the Arizona 45, recovered by Arizona at the 44, 43-yard line. So good, not great field position, but the 3rd instance of Godwin fumbling like this. And he had troubles with it in pre-season, especially on kickoff returns, not so much running the ball. Now he's being played with it here. Still retained returning duties, but I think he only had 1 or 2 offensive snaps after that moment. It really felt like the momentum was going to start to swing there. 3 points disappointment, but turn it from, borderline field goal range for the Lions. If Arizona then sticks 7 on us there and it's a 1-score game, you could see us kind of starting to doubt ourselves. So, that was a really big moment to start with. We'll deal with the next moment in a minute, but just that fumble there. Godwin's position must be in danger, right, Steve?
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen this so many times, is that we give away, we turn over the ball and it's cost us. And I think we were just all bracing ourselves for that, kick in the nuts, that, that they were going to pull it back to 7 points. I think the minute that you fumble the ball, I think everyone just thought the same thing. Here we go. They've just scored a field goal. We've then coughed it up. Next thing will be, it'll be a 7-point game. And I think I said that the first 5 minutes of the third quarter kind of defined, that this win. And I think that the next couple of plays, just basically, this was where the game was won for us. Because the momentum swing could have just killed us at that point.
If Arizona scored a touchdown on that drive, I think we lose. I think they crumble. I think they break our spirit. I agree. That drive there was where the game was won and lost. Now, If Jamal Williams is fit, I don't think Godwin will be active on Sunday. All these running backs can't make the game day roster, so I don't think he'll be active now. I think he's going to get sat, and I think he's going to have to sit and ponder, which is good actually. Let him stew a week maybe, because now we're going to have so many backs that we can't have them all on the active day roster. I think this is where we saw boys became men on defense. As you mentioned, it was a short field. We coughed the ball up practically halfway, so they're already nearly in field goal range. So they've already got that maybe in the bank or the back pocket. They're thinking, if we can get something a bit more real, like we might be able to get in these boys' heads a bit. But the defensive stop and the defensive stand after that really showed how much we've changed in the last few weeks. The aggressiveness, that never went away. We still sent the pressure. We knew we were defending a short field, which is never easy. And I think it was the nail in the coffin. Like, stopping them there, holding them is what really was the straw that brought the camels back for Arizona. We won the game there and then, I feel, because we were riding high after that. That was a big changing point. Losing the ball and then damage limitation, which is something we've never been good at.
Yeah. So, following the fumble, Arizona come out. 1st and 10 becomes 2nd and 8. And the O-line does well. Protects Murray, gives him time in the pocket. He looks left, throwing off the safety. Then looks right, throws a quick pass to the outside, I think in the direction of AJ Green on that side.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And Amani Oruwariye kind of runs with AJ Green on the inside, has inside leverage. And then with kind of Kyler holding onto the ball, Green kind of stops his route, starts to come back towards the ball, towards the sideline. And Amani just sees it early, jumps the route, diving catch. I mean, for all my dogging of Amani, this is the 2nd interception he's had this year that legitimately has taken elite cornerback play to make. First one, I think, was in the end zone against the Bears. This one was better. His best play in his career, I think. Not only does he jump the route, he gets there with such separation that he doesn't get touched on his way down and returns it from the Lions 40, I think, to the Cardinals 5. I mean, the way he caught it, kind of barrel rolled and got up and just sped off. I mean, he was so unlucky not to get the pick 6 in the first place, but what a play in coverage to kind of keep him smothered to begin with. Then to read the quarterback, know the timing of it when he's in man coverage, to jump the route. The catch is exceptional, but then the ability to go and make that run. I mean, I can't say enough about this play and how when the momentum is shifted potentially, not in favour of Arizona, but definitely away from Detroit, to say to the Cardinals, not today, lad, welcome to Detroit. That was the moment where I knew we were winning this game. And I kind of knew it in my heart. And I wasn't jinxing it at that point because it was happening.
I mean, we talked about the surprise of, talking about Goff as a legitimate threat and Goff's Arsenal, all that stuff. What about the surprise of Oruwariye turning into like vintage big play Slay? I mean, like, where did that come from? It was just awesome. And the fact that he made the play and kind of got Godwin out of jail, that shows something about the team spirit, because so often we turn the ball over and then, it goes to the defense and they just can't do anything with it. But the fact that after 2 plays, he's turned the ball back over, made a huge interception. It was just, that was the game there on that play.
I think it says a lot that AJ Green gauges up on the play as well. He doesn't even chase Amani down.
No.
Like, he looks really like a spoiled child when it's picked off, because he kind of just stands there and sulks. Like,
made no effort at all. No effort.
I'd have been so pissed off. He doesn't even give chase. And I think that is the moment, like you say, that it's not often that we follow up a turnover with getting it straight back. Like, they're like, no, you're not having it back. We're going to strike. We're going to wrestle back momentum, get it back quickly. And as you say, he was unlucky not to score. Someone chased him down really well and pushed him out of bounds, but really unlucky. He's now 3rd in the league, got Diggs on 10. You've got JC Jackson on 7. You've got Armani with 6. So he's hanging with some of the best ball hawks in the league because he puts himself in good positions. He's someone that is able to sniff the ball out, and he knows when to just sit there. Even sometimes he waits for it. Other times he goes and gets it. So his coverage and his tackling is not always the best, but he makes up for that with those potential explosive players and players like that that change the entire outlook of a second half, because that was the beginning of the end for Arizona.
One thing I like about him is you never seem to see him with his head down. I mean, if he makes a bad play, he dusts himself down, he's back in going for it. And, I do like that about him. And from the commentary that I got yesterday, it seemed like Eric Talib loved him, and obviously he was a great player. So if anyone can judge a player, it's him. He said that there is plenty of work to do, like what you just said there, Ryan, on that aspect of the game. But on the whole, I think he's been really, really, really good for us this year. And I'll go as far as to say that I think if we do a top 5 or even the best player of the year by the Lions, I think that one is going to be very hard to beat when all things are considered, that you've just had the turnover that, you think, oh, here we go. We're letting them back into the game now, and to go out there and get it and to bring it all the way back, which led to a touchdown and basically put the nail in the coffin for the Cardinals. I think that is probably going to stand up as our best player to see, best play of the season.
While I was away, did anyone make any Trayvon Diggs comparisons?
No, I made a big play Slay one.
Oh, fair play, fair play. I did see someone in the chat just said big play or Ruwarie, which kind of doesn't quite have the same ring, but it's not too far away. But he is our Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs gets burned in coverage, but he's leading the league in takeaways or leading the league in interceptions, I think. So, I mean, that's Armani, but at the end of the day, sometimes if you do give up points, but you come up with the interception, it can change momentum in a game more than just being solid in coverage. So sometimes you do need someone like that. And I've been wary of it because his other play kind of hasn't held up to it, and he hasn't done this before. He hasn't had anywhere near this level of interceptions before. He looks like a completely different player. And, I mean, I'm really looking forward to next year with him now. I mean, earlier on in this season, there was a point where I was saying I'd just cut him as well. Him and Goff are so much improved on earlier in the season. It's night and day. Ryan kind of highlighted just a little bit earlier that it set up the touchdown, and in fact it was the very next play where the Lions come out in a heavy set. Cabinda's in as a tight end, and we run a play that I've seen the Lions concede a touchdown against so often in the last decade. It's just a very, very simple setup, either with a fullback or an extra man on the end of the line. Quarterback comes in, roll out play action to the right-hand side, man in the flat, throw it to him wherever he can get it for a touchdown. Jason Cabinda, 5 yards out as well. I mean, it wasn't a 2 or 1 yard goal line thing. He had to make the yards, and he did. Good throw, good catch. I mean, he's basically got 2-3 yards of separation as well at that point, because no one's expecting the converted linebacker, converted fullback, friend of the pod, to go in there for a touchdown. And it put the nail in the coffin. At this point now, the Cardinals are down 24-3, and they're done. I mean, there's nothing more for it. They haven't got a hope here.
It was pretty much garbage time after that. Like, that was it. That was the game.
Yeah, cooked bird, basically. Like our Christmas Saturday, it's going to be equally as cooked as what they were. So it was all over and done with. And I was really happy for Cabinda to get that touchdown, by the way, because it felt like it was a long time coming. But and obviously he's up for the Walter Payton Award this year. So he's obviously an all-round good guy. And I know that you guys have spoken to him earlier in the year. So yeah, congratulations. Hopefully a few more to come yet.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get him back on the pod because we've got history with him. He might do it, but also, what a year he's had. Firstly, Dan Campbell picked him out as guy most like me on the roster, which is an accolade in itself. Then he, goes out and earns the respect of basically an entirely new roster and has the trust of Dan Campbell through the year. Now, he doesn't play too many snaps. We don't play with a fullback that often, but with the tight end issues, he comes in and fills in there and looks like a natural. blocking seems to be well within his skill set. So hopefully he can continue and become a proper Swiss Army knife. I mean, put him in the Wildcat. Screw it. Do it. Let's see him in there.
It's a good play call as well, I thought. Like you say, it's technically like a simple kind of touchdown, but it's far from that, of course, as well. It's like we see us get burned with it so many times. You see Aaron Rodgers do that kind of play so many times, but it was all in all just, it was a good play call again by Campbell.
Yeah, it really was. So following that, Cardinals then drive back into the red zone again, only to get backed up on third down. So it's too long to go for on fourth. I think Zach Ertz bobbled a catch, which would have halved the down and distance for fourth down. Didn't make it. So they're forced to go for the field goal. Becomes a 24-6 game, reduces it from a 3-score game to a 3-score game. Well done. Congratulations on that. Lions get the ball back, drive down the field, and so this is another baffling thing to me. So, talking about Arizona bottling this game, especially coaching-wise, the Lions at 27-3 are 3rd and 19 at the Arizona. I think it's 45, maybe 42. So long way to go to convert for a first down. Game's almost gone for Arizona. It's a 20. What was it? No, 18-point game or something like that at this point. They got to get the ball back and they got to stop points. They play off coverage, allow Aaron-Ra free release down the middle for a 10-yard completion. Puts us in field goal range. Patterson drills the 48-yarder, and we've made it a 21-point game again. I don't care if it's 3rd and 19. If you're that far down, protecting the sticks is a luxury here. You've got to stop them getting into field goal range because you cannot afford the 3 points. You can't. And Cliff is just bottle jobbing it. He's thrown in the towel. He's given up on the game. And you know what? This Arizona team, even despite not having DeAndre Hopkins, is too talented to say 18 points down with a quarter left that we're out with this, because we know how quickly they can score, and they haven't done it yet to this point. But I believe in my team and say, you know what, my defense can stop them getting 5 yards, and my offense can drive down the field a few times and make it interesting at least. But those 3 points making it a 21-point game says, I'm done.
I think the thing that clinched it in terms of the attitude and the kind of mindset was that Kyler Murray just never looked like he was able to string a drive together. And, at that point, you're starting to look for miracles and huge plays and chunk plays to get down the field. We never gave them like really much of a chunk play. I mean, we really contained them, and they just didn't look like they could move the ball quickly. And I think that the key thing for us at that point was it did look like they'd given up. I think Kingsbury was just thinking, like, how many more plays do I give Murray before I bench him? And look forward to the next game in the schedule. But by this point, I mean, the game was over, absolutely over. I mean, I'm always have that nervousness with the Lions, but I think this was the first time certainly for probably a couple of seasons, I thought this is in the bag now. They're not coming back from this.
Yeah, the last time I think that we actually played the game, managed it, and just won it convincingly was against the Patriots. I think on a Monday night, it was actually Patricia's first ever win, I think, for the Lions. So, that's the last time I can see us. I've ever felt really comfortable watching the Lions. Of course, there's always a couple of hairy moments here or there, but that was by far one of the most enjoyable games for many a year.
Just had some more breaking news from Ashley in the chat.
Who's ill now?
No. Apparently the Bears are start because of injury or illness or what have you. The Bears are starting cornerback T's table.
I would definitely Ryan McCluskey in that position than T's table.
I just thought that would...
This is Justin Jefferson. This is the Bears' second draft. That's like really getting
just awful. Right, so I talked about the Patterson field goal there with them just giving up. The Lions then, kind of for the rest of the game, have some success killing some clock. They weren't great with it, but they did convert for a few first downs on the ground, keep the clock moving. In garbage time, Arizona do get their first touchdown of the game. Nice pass over the middle to Christian Kirk. At this point, they reduce it down to an 18-point game. If they get the point after try, it becomes a 17-point game. So that's... Hang on. Yeah, no, that is... Yeah, so the 2-point conversion would bring them to within 2 scores, right? Yeah, okay, so that makes in touch...
Two converted touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense that they go for it, but it doesn't work out. I think that one's battered down by Jalen Reeves-Maven, who had his best game as a Lion, as far as I'm concerned. He was absolutely everywhere on the field, and come on to that in a minute. But go for the 2-point conversion, doesn't work. 30-12. Lions don't really do much with it at all. I think there's 4 minutes to go at this point. Cardinals then drive down the field with 12 seconds left there within the 5. Couple of breakups in the end zone, including a really nice pass breakup by Will Harris, who had a terrific day. Starting outside cornerback, Will Harris was terrific. I'm shuddering even saying his name, but it was excellent. Ends up 30-12 winners, and to start us off with the themes of the game, I've got here first, fourth, and 4-quarter performance in years. I can't think of another time that the Lions have done it in all 4 quarters, even when we've won in the past, even with Stafford. We'd regularly take full quarters off. I think Goff at most this season has had 2 quarters of really good play. To do it for 4 is exceptional. And in our Discord chat, we had Tayi Babu, who said, it's the best Lions performance in my lifetime, considering who they beat and how undermanned the squad was. And I've got to agree, this was exceptional.
We've beaten a Super Bowl contender with our practice squad. I mean, you can't get it more simple than that.
Yeah, so I think it was that a lot of it. While the players obviously are the ones that go out there and get the job done, I think the coaching yesterday, on the whole, was spectacular. It was really one of the best coach games I've seen in a very, very long time. It was just all round superb.
In the last 3 years, there's been 3 standout wins. When we battered the Jags coming out the bye, as Ryan mentioned, when we beat the Patriots fairly comfortably, like they were pretty strengthy as well. Like it wasn't even a beating up Patriots. And then today, they're probably the closest we'll get to the best 3 or 4 full quarters that we've had in a number of years now. So
it's going to go one of the best. The Bevel bounce last year as well after Patricia got sacked against the Bears, that was pretty nice as well.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't
bad. If we're looking at this year, like when you look at games like Baltimore, Pittsburgh, we played like maybe 2.5, 3 quarters of good football max, but let ourselves down in the 4th. But this time we managed to actually carry on in the 4th and even get more points. Like we didn't take our foot off the gas, which is something that we've been maybe accustomed to at times, not being too enough ruthless.
Yeah,
there's
was
a
it
tweet.
like
Sorry.
6 of their points? Sorry, 6 of their points were from field goals, and the other 6 was 1 touchdown or whatever in the 4th quarter. I mean, it's all in all just really, really well done. Brilliant performance.
Tweet from Detroit Lions PR, which says Jared Goff has thrown for multiple TDs and posted a passer rating of 95 plus in 3 straight home games. He is the first Lions quarterback to complete 80% of his passes, throw 3 touchdowns, and post a quarterback rating of 135 or greater since 2015. And he's only the 5th Lions quarterback to achieve such a feat. It's a historic performance. I mean, it just is. I mean, I know the Lions haven't been blessed with good quarterback play over the history of the franchise, but still, that's vaguely impressive. Second theme I have is complementary football. I said it earlier, but it was highlighted that the Cardinals were exceptional in the moments that matter. The Lions were not, and that's the biggest difference in those teams. And it completely flipped. The Cardinals bottled it, and the Lions picked their moments, kept the Cardinals off balance. They ran it on 3rd and 5. They sometimes made the short swing passes out on 4th and 1, the stretch plays on 4th and 2, which got called back or what have you. It felt like that the Cardinals didn't know what was coming and didn't know what hit them in those really crucial moments. We went 6 of 13 on third down and 1 of 1 on fourth. Fantastic, much better than we've had all year.
Yeah, we've been bad on the money downs this year. We've been really bad. We've fallen behind the chains way too many times in most games and not been able to dig ourselves out of a hole. But this time, we varied the play calls on third and fourth down. We weren't predictable, so they weren't able to get set quick enough, or they weren't able to line up and know exactly what we're going to do. Like that 4th and 1 screen, where we actually got people to block it, where we actually set people up quickly enough that we were able to generate some pressure. Even if they knew we were going to do it, they still couldn't stop it. And that's not something we can say often.
Yeah, and I saw a stat yesterday. I just had to dig it out there, but I saw a stat, I think it was early this morning, that the Lions have over 1,500 rushing yards this season, an average of 4.5 yards per rush, and then over 14 games of a season, over the first 14 games of a season, which is the first time they've done that since 1998. So, when we talk about as well, like gaining an identity and how they wanted to set this team up, it's starting to show that, even with the reserves coming in and helping us out, and when you've got players like Swift and Williams, who's been a little bit in and out of late, I think that, there is reason to really get excited about the coaching again. I know I've been harping on about it all day, but I just really think that, we're starting to see what we've wanted to see for a long time, which is a real identity with our football club.
I think that the best stat is that Cliff Kingsbury's never beaten Jared Goff. Goff is Kingsbury's kryptonite. That's 3 Ks.
I think the Lions have got a good record against the. I think the 3Ks like it. I think like the Cardinals have got a really poor record against the Lions. Actually, I think that other than the draw, we should have beaten them. Like I think we've beaten them the last 4 or 5 times that we played them, because we beat them last year for our first win of the season in Arizona with a last-minute Prater goal. From what I remember, I think it was week 3 last year.
3-1-1 since 2015. So they've only got 1 win in the last 5. So we just turn up against the Cardinals. It's weird. They don't like playing us, and we just somehow like playing them.
Can we play you every week?
Yeah, right. So the other thing I wanted to highlight is the complementary football. So not only in the big moments did they step up, but when the offense started to falter, the defense stepped up, and when the defense looked like it was going to break, they actually stood up in the moments that mattered. And when the defense needed a rest, the offense managed to hold the ball for long periods. It felt like not only was it a complete performance through 4 quarters, not only was it in the big moments that it was happening, but they were backing each other up all the way. Like all 3 facets of the game, including special teams, where nothing remarkable happened, but no big mistakes, good punting. I can't fault any of it. It's been terrific.
Always going to be good punting box as well.
Yeah.
And who like that was for a long part this season, like for the first part of our season, once again, like the only real positive, a highlight. But since Saul, and there's been so many other standout players that are really you're starting to see grow every week. That's what it's all about, man. Because we haven't given up on this season; they've continued to fight, and now they're finding victories.
Yeah, I mean, this is the least possibility of accusing a team of tanking. I mean, we just do not look like a tanking team. We looked more like a tanking team when we were like 0-5 than when we were like 1-10. We were kind of in free fall for like parts of the early season, and just the form over the last sort of 4 or 5 games, even when we've lost, we've been in the game, or we've just shown some real flashes, but the fact that we've actually managed to turn it around and get it over the line, and I think today the game that we've just seen was probably the best in terms of execution, like consistent, thorough execution all the way through. Where we didn't have one lapse of concentration with a fumble, we make the play straight away, and we look like a proper team. And this is not a team of stars. And when we're talking about Charles Harris having a game and Reeves Maben coming back and just been fantastic in the backfield. It's just fantastic to see. This is a proper team win, and I don't know if you saw the footage of them in the locker room afterwards. It felt like a real team win.
Yeah, completely agree. We've touched on the coaching. We've touched on the defense with big stops earlier, but also bend, don't break when required. How about this receiving room then? Amon-Ra, Josh Reynolds, just coming up massive for the team, and in fits and bursts we had Khalif Raymond in there and others. I mean, didn't throw the ball a lot. There were only 21 receptions in there. But it started to come alive. Reynolds and Goff, Reynolds and Amon-Ra look like if those three remain healthy, and, with Goff on the COVID reserve now, maybe that's hard. But there's something there. Goff has chemistry with Amon-Ra.
Yeah. So, question for Ryan McCluskey. Is there a wide receiver that we can take with one of our first round picks that would be like a major differential step up from what we've got in Cephas, St. Brown? What do you think?
For me, I only feel like I think Treylon Burks is the only receiver that we've got that's in the draft that is something that we don't have. He's big and fast. He gives you that yard after coverage. You can take the roof off the top. Now, I expect Reynolds has got a good radius. He's able to haul in the catch. But once he's got the ball, I'm not sure what he can do with it. I expect Burks is the only guy that once the ball's in his hands, he's able to outrun guys and outmuscle them as well. He's got a bit of brute raw strength that maybe we lack. I think he's the only person I'll consider with that second pick as a wide receiver.
So he's more the Golladay type.
Yeah, I'd give him that, yeah. He's got some muscle about him.
More Bears news, which is interesting to the Lions. The Chicago Bears have promoted former Lions cornerback and special teamer D. Virgin to its active roster from the practice squads. Hey! The Chicago Bears are the Lions of 2 years ago, which is amazing. A question now that was actually asked a little while ago by Ashley in the chat, but I actually already had down at this point that I wanted to talk about. We've had Dan Campbell, as Ryan Farden mentioned earlier, took the play calling duties from Anthony Lynn. That happened, I want to say 5 games ago. It might have been 6, but it's been some reasonable period of time. First game clearly got worse. Kind of wasn't used to it, making bad calls in situational play. Second game, maybe about a level with where Lynn had been. No noticeable improvement, perhaps, but improvement considering where he was the previous game. And from then on, even including the Denver game, constant improvement from there. And in the last 3 games, it's been revealed that Ben Johnson, the tight ends coach, has been helping out, being a big part of this offense in terms of the scheme, talking not only to his tight ends that he's the coach for, but to the wide receivers, to the quarterback, being very, very active about installing plays. Amon-Ra said the touchdown play probably was put in by Ben Johnson. And then you have people like Jeremy Reisman, who was on with us last week for the preview pod, saying Ben Johnson could be the guy, offensive coordinator, on his own review pod saying, no, Ben Johnson is the guy. He probably should be the next offensive coordinator. And now we're being asked this question. What do you make of Ben Johnson? What he's done for the tight ends room in the last few years? Because he's been here for a while. And what Hawk has done, maybe not this year because it's been a down year for him, but Hawk's year 2 was exceptional. And then he's come in and seeing what he can do to this overall scheme. He clearly has the respect of the players. Do you think that this is something that the Lions will consider? Do you think it will happen?
You should always promote within if you're given the chance. If you can avoid getting an outside hiring, then you should always do it. Ben Johnson's done really well. Now, I don't think the second year Hawk jump, I think a lot of that was Hawk working on his own in the off season with other tight ends. But obviously, you got that extra coaching as well. But now he's like, it looked like, because Amon-Ra ran like a wheel from that tight end blocking page, it looked like a tight end play. It looks like something you'd see Kittle run or someone like Mark Andrews. It's kind of that play. So I imagine he must have had a say in that. If he is able to do it, I want I want Dan Campbell to stop calling players as soon as possible and focus on head coaching. Anthony Lynn is not head coach anymore because he was also too involved in play calling. You can't do both things at once because in the end it will kill you. So if we're able to pass off those play calling offensive coordinator, even if it's a combination of guys, even if it's a bit of Juice, a bit of Ben, a bit of all that, like say, combine that, get it done, I would happily see Ben Johnson given the reins for next year because Lynn's gone. I'd get rid of Lynn right now. He's got no future in the organisation whatsoever. He is probably just stood on the sideline thinking, why am I even here? Because he must have minimal input right now. He must be doing the bare minimum. So it's now time to just give the reins out to someone. The last 3 games, give him the headset, Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, stop calling players. And it's time to work out what we've got and what we don't have. Let's look towards next season. Let this be his audition. So it can't hurt. There's nothing to lose whatsoever.
I don't know too much on that one. I mean, I agree with what you're saying that, you're better off giving him the audition. And I just think Campbell, and I don't know where I'm kind of getting this from, it's just my gut feeling, I suppose. But I feel that Campbell is starting to enjoy it and he'll probably in his own mind think that he's growing into it as well. And he'll think that he is the head coach and I don't know. I don't know if I see him giving it up. He might. I just don't see him giving up. He might promote him to OC, but whether he allows him to be calling the plays with the headset, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to find out in time. But
Sean Payton calls the plays in New Orleans, right? So
yeah. So does Matt Nagy.
Okay, fair. What do you make of Ben Johnson, Steve?
I think a lot of it depends on what's going to happen with Anthony Lynn. I mean, for me, I probably see Ben Johnson and Aubrey Pleasant as the kind of next generation of coaches. It's just a question of how long, how long we get of Aaron Glenn, and is Anthony Lynn a good fit for the Lions? I don't think there's any rush, and I completely agree with you. I see you all shaking your head, and I don't think Lynn's contributed much, but I don't see the rush to promote Ben Johnson. Like, let him sit and carry on learning his trade. But yeah, if it is going to be a distraction play calling, then maybe just slowly increase his role, over the next 12 months. It's really hard to say. We don't know enough about what's going on in the coaching room, and because I know like the running backs coach Juice Staley is massively highly thought of as well. So it's hard to know kind of where the influence is coming from. But he certainly seems to have raised his profile over the last few weeks.
I would say that, especially early on in the season, Ben did a lot of interviews on DetroitLions.com. They're on YouTube. They're on the website. Go and listen to it. They're only short interviews, about 5-6 minutes long. But you listen to him speak about the game. Clearly a super smart guy, but also very good communicator, can explain things to laymen very simply. And yet, obviously, his guys can go and execute in a more complex way. So I think that he's got a good grounding in being able to do it well. Whether he has the brain for it, the experience for it in terms of the inventiveness required, that little spark that you need to kind of go, and now I'm going to do something different. Like some ways an offensive coordinator needs to be a little bit of an evil genius in terms of the way that they cook up stuff. And I don't know whether Ben has that, but that will come with time. Ashley had a really good point in the Twitch chat, which says, to be fair, isn't tight end the second hardest position on offense behind the quarterback, since they have to know the entire offensive playbook, both running routes and blocking schemes? So the tight end's coach becoming an offensive coordinator makes complete sense compared to any other positional coach on offense. And I get that. I mean, the tight ends do need to be able to block on the line for the run plays. They do need to probably know how to play as a fullback too, because sometimes a tight end will drop back into that offset fullback role in a weak eye or a strong eye or something like that. but also a tight end might split out as a wide receiver or run routes. So the coach needs to know that too, and so the transition perhaps is easier from that spot than, say, if it was the wide receiver coach, Antoine Randall, for example. I think the transition makes more sense for Ben Johnson to do that, especially as he's been part of the organisation for longer as well. He has more familiarity with a lot of the staff that has still existed with the change in coaching staffs. Has roots too, you know, is going to want to root for the team potentially more than some of the guys who've only been here for a year. I don't know how much that means really, but it's something. It's something. So, final point here, and if any of you guys have any questions you want us to get to, now is the time to get those in. Final question for you guys today, and I know I brought this up specifically because I knew Ryan Farden was going to be on the pod, because it's something that he mentioned a few weeks ago about how people in the D were starting to question MCDC. I think it was after the first couple of games after he took over the play calling, and you were saying, oh, people want him gone, you know, like they don't want him calling plays because he can't do it, he's not up to it. With the last few games, with the Vikings win, and with this win especially, has he cemented his status as head coach throughout the entirety of next year? You know, I think people were saying 0-17, potentially those questions are creeping in, even though it's a lost year. 0-17 is historically bad even compared to what the Lions have experienced in the past. But now, the way that they're playing, you can feasibly say he's learning. Also, the coaches he's hired have been really good. Do you think, Ryan, he's done enough to say, actually, you know what, this guy is here to stay?
Yeah, I think that we're seeing the brand of football that we were promised a little bit. You know, each week there's even in Denver there was at times improvements, and I think that, you know, we're seeing the kind of the kneecap football or whatever you want to call it. I think he's growing into it, and you know, obviously he's done more than enough to warrant another year, and I think that he will be around for a while in Detroit. And you know, obviously next year he's definitely going to have better players to coach because we're going to have more money to spend in free agency. So hopefully we'll get a few hits there. And then obviously the draft, we've got draft picks. And then even the year after that, we've got draft picks. And I think that that's when we'll start seeing the general manager really coming into his own. Obviously, you know, he didn't start off on a great foot in terms of the Trinity Benson trade, but look at, you know, his first round pick in Penei Sewell. He epitomizes everything that Dan Campbell wants in a Detroit Lion. And yeah, I think that the fans are, from what I've seen, that they're more happier now. But then that's what winning does for you, doesn't it? 2 wins out of 3 games. You know, since we've left there, it's you know, chalk and cheese to the way things were going. But you know, we should have won in Cleveland. We should have won in Pittsburgh. So you know, technically, this should have been like a what is it, a 4 win out of 5 game kind of sort of situation. So you know, I think he's definitely going to be around for a couple more years, I would have thought. I expect him to be anyway.
What about the rest of you guys? What do you think about Dan Campbell now that he's got a few wins under his belt, especially the manner in which this game was won and the situational play calling aspects of things? He's done himself the world of good in terms of not even Woodward Sports are having a go at him this week.
I'd say that I believe if we fast forward maybe 12 months, I don't see any way the Lions start that year as bad as we've started this year, because he will be starting on foundations that have been rock solid. Like this year, he was like coaching from foundations built in sand. Next year, it's going to be like concrete, because now he's got that. He's got wins breed wins, don't they? Because you get the confidence. He's also proven now that he's able to somehow muster up performances, get results out of players that, frankly, some teams wouldn't even give a workout. We've got guys in this roster right now that other teams in the league would never even have tried out. But Dan Campbell said, I see something in him, so I'm going to give him a shot. And if I keep playing him, if I keep giving him snaps, eventually he's going to come good. And they are now playing for him because they've realized that this is a guy that wants to be here. This is a guy they can get behind. He's a guy that is willing to be sincere. He's willing to take blame when it's not Holly's blame. he'll never take all the credit because the credit's not his. So he's got that balance just right of there's no ego there. He's never going to take credit for anything he didn't do. He'll give that to the players, but he's going to put them in the best position where he can to make plays. His play calling has improved. Now, I still don't want to call players in future because I think it eventually will become distraction. But right now, I'm fine with him calling players because I've seen change. I've seen him go away from that scripted run, pass, punt that we've been so accustomed to seeing. He's mixing up a little bit more. He now understands what he's got in his personnel. He knows who's best at what. He knows who to use in what down and what distance. Who is best to be on the field at the right time, and that's half the battle. So I expect us to start next year in a much better confidence. The press are going to lay off him, so there's going to be a nice buzz. There'll be a nice bit of breathing room around Allen Park and Ford Field. I think the crowds will also, you'll see more fans next year. I think he will draw fans in himself with the performances we're putting on currently. He has earned himself easily all of next year and hopefully the year after as the money kicks in, the cap raises, and those picks. We've had to suffer at times this year, but you don't get the rainbow without the rain. And maybe now the rain is subsiding.
Can you see clearly now the rain has gone?
I can. I feel good. This is me. I'm so positive. I feel like I'm glowing.
And I think, sorry, Steve, go on.
I think, so big picture, it didn't really matter what happened this year from a results point of view, as long as we didn't go 0-17. Like, Campbell had a carte blanche to basically, this is a rebuilding season. It's a gel in the roster. It's finding out about the players, looking them in the eyes, seeing what they can produce, really letting the coaches try and bring the most out of this team and work out who he wants over the midterm and who he doesn't want. And I think so many questions have been answered, but what he couldn't afford to happen was go 0-17 or be heading that way, because then all of a sudden, like, the media just get on his back and the pressure just builds and builds. And I think after that massive loss to the Eagles, where we were just so poor, he's clearly, really kind of given the probably team talk from hell to the whole roster. And since then, there's been a noticeable difference. Since the Eagles game, we had the tie against the Steelers that we should have won. We had the Browns game that was a 3-point loss that we could have won, 2-point loss to the Bears. And then we finally get the win against the Vikings. And then, 2 games later, we've got another win under our belt. And it feels like maybe he was just a bit too nice in the first half of the season, a bit too supportive. He was just trying to, cuddle the players to a win. And maybe after that Eagles game, there was a bit of fire and brimstone, and he's really made people think, I am playing for my place here. And now, the pressure's off. All the focus is on the Jags, the Texans, the Jets, what's going on at the Giants. All of the media will have moved on now because there's nothing to see from the media's point of view. If we finish 2-14-1, it's not a news story anymore. Us finishing 0-17 is a legitimate news story across the NFL media. Us finishing with 2 wins and a tie, it's neither here nor there, and the attention has moved on. And as Ryan McCluskey said, this builds him a platform for next year where he can look to get 6, 7, 8 wins, and he's got the draft capital. And I think the whole play calling stuff will be almost a byproduct. I think that will sort itself out. For me, it's just getting the platform to really get the media off his back and give him some privacy to really kind of do what he wants to do and get his coaches coaching and start developing players and have a really clear draft strategy. So it feels we're in a really good place. And on top of all that, we won a game. like I said, we've beaten the Super Bowl contender with effectively a practice squad, and that is a massive. It not just for the Lions, for any team in the NFL.
Yeah, another little bit of late news in there. MCDC in his presser apparently said that DeAndre Swift will be practicing in some capacity this week, which I hate because we've got loads of running backs. DeAndre Swift is an asset that doesn't need to be risked. What happens if he aggravates that injury through the offseason? Just shut him down, look to next season, give Craig Reynolds the rock for the next 3 games, just see what he can do. I mean, he's proven that he deserves the time, so just give it to him. You don't need a banged up DeAndre Swift risking himself, but there we go with that. So, just wanted to finish up with a couple of things. So there's a few quotes that Pride of Detroit compiled from the national media. I thought I'd read one to you. It's from Mike Tanier from Football Outsiders. He said, whatever the Lions have been using to produce upsets and near upsets late in this season is worth much more in the long run than the spots of draft order they are giving up to the flailing, stagnating Jaguars or anyone else. That's not a statement endorsed by analytics, but sometimes you've got to have a little old-fashioned faith. And the last bit, from Jeff Risdon of Lions Wire, he said that the Lions stunned the Arizona Cardinals 30-12 at Ford Field to improve to 2-11-1 on the season. A few hours later, and a short walk away in downtown Detroit, the Detroit Pistons snapped a 14-game losing streak by beating the Miami Heat 100-90. The matching double-digit victories don't happen often. In fact, it hasn't happened in almost 50 years. The last time the Lions and Pistons each won a game by double digits was on the 28th of October, 1973, 48 years ago.
1973 was a great year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. If you say so. Yeah. So it really has been a rare thing. Any of you boys have anything more you want to get off your chest before we get out of here?
No.
And the Red Wings won. The Red Wings won as well. I want to find a stat. When was the last time those 3 won on the same weekend? Because I bet it's a bloody long time ago. So if you're watching out there, find me the answer. You know where to find me. And my prediction is we're going to win more games this year. I think we're going to win 2 of the final 3. I'm not going to say which 2, but we're riding the crest of a wave now. And up next, we've got a team that I want to get after the Falcons. Like they are there for the take. They are so there for the taking, though, aren't they? Like they've just come off a bad league.
They've got good history with the Falcons. I mean, it's normally quite a tight game going off the games off the top of my head. I remember we lost a game at Ford Field, but I think we got a bit robbed. I think Marvin Jones had a last-second touchdown chalked off or something. But there's always been a bit of action with that game. So last year? I think we managed to pull it out last second as well with Hockenson. But yeah, it always seems to be an interesting game to say the least. And you know, if our defense can play like it did on Sunday, then we can definitely get at that awful O-line that they've got there, if they want to call it, protecting Matt Ryan, because I'm surprised that lad hasn't been injured seriously this year with the way they've been looking after him.
I just want to see, on the 9th of January, I want to see Charles Harris officially end Jordan Love. That's what I want to see.
I mean, we're going to be... Sorry, you go.
The last thing I'm going to say to anyone who's watching is stop worrying about draft position. That will take care of itself, because if the Lions are trying to win games, like the draft position, there's nothing that can happen to it. We'll either move back or we'll stay where we are. So stop panicking, guys. Like I know the draft, I know players. Anywhere from 1 to 5 makes us better. There's 5 players there that make us better in some way or how. If we get 2-3 more wins, it's not the end of the world. I know you're going to have a meltdown on social media, but just calm down and enjoy the wins now, because they don't come often. I'm not willing to sacrifice draft position for building something, and wins will attract good free agents as well. Like, who wants to come to an 0-17 team? No one. But who wants to come to a 13-1 team? Some better players. So just calm down. There's people out there that are going crazy.
And if you didn't enjoy that win yesterday, if you didn't enjoy watching the Lions play like that yesterday, after all these years of, just winning or just scraping by, if you didn't enjoy that performance, you didn't enjoy every aspect virtually of our game yesterday, and you were more worried about the Lions losing and then getting a better draft pick, you got to question yourself as a fan, I think, with that one, because that was one of the most enjoyable days watching the Lions in, like we said, in quite a few years.
Yeah, Team Tank can ram it.
Hashtag no mocks needed. Ryan, speaking of no mocks needed, you're 5 guys. I'm on 4. So I got Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Hamilton, Karlaftis. Who's number 5?
Evan Neal, because he would answer the problem of what happens with Deco when he needs pain. He's a potential elite tackle, but he can also fit in at guard as well. I think he's probably the best lineman in the draft.
Okay. Interesting. All right. That's about going to do it for this episode. Next one is on Thursday on the main pod, Lions at Falcons preview show. We've also got the Raw the Lions college football podcast coming up on Wednesday. I guess we're going to be talking about the bowl games that have already happened, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the ones that have happened, what we predicted, and then we're looking forward to the New Year's 6 and the big bowl games and the FCS playoffs. The semi-finals happened. There was a huge upset. The final is now set for early next year. I can't wait. And also Wednesday, keep your eyes peeled, guys, because we're working on something. Like this, we might have a nice interview as well. So things we're finished. It's a nice Christmas special.
Is it confirmed? Do we have him for sure?
Yep. Yeah, he got back to me today.
Shall we say who it is? Because we need to draw him in. We need to let him know who it is.
Yeah, we can do, yeah.
All right.
Like I say, I've been in contact on social media with former Lions safety Glover Quinn. He loves the podcast. He likes to chat to guys. We've got a time read for this. So we're going to get to it. Like I say, we're going to find out about everything that happened, why he retired so suddenly, about his time in the league and where he thinks we're going, because what he thinks of Aaron Glenn, North Pleasant. So it's a nice festive special.
Nice.
Yeah, well done.
Wednesday, 9 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. ET, live. Join us for that. If you've got any questions for Glover, think about them, sit on them, and then hit us up on Discord or on our WhatsApp if you're on that too, and you can be one of the guys getting a question in. So you've got all of that to look forward to before Christmas. Don't say we don't treat you. Royal Lions UK on our socials, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the Facebook group, non-affiliated to us, but with loads of guys from all around the world, is Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide, and articles coming up on ROTL.com. Please like the episode, subscribe to the podcast, everything you can, like Wackadan did on Twitch, and appreciate that very much, my man. That it really helps us and just tells us that we're doing a good job. You've got any criticism, any constructive stuff as well, we'd love to take that on board and make something better for you. If you've got people that you want to know about for the draft, I know that Ant is big on taking names and doing the work in the off season. So if you want to know about people, let us know. Hit up that Discord. Otherwise, it just remains for me to thank my co-hosts Ryan Fard and Ryan McCluskey, Steve Collins. My name is Matthew Turner, and we will see you on the main pod on Thursday, but with the college football podcast and Glover Quinn on Wednesday. Let's go Lions, one pride.
One pride.
Right.
Let's go
5
Lions.
wins, here we come.